Hello, my grade 11s. Welcome. So this video kirela the learners to di struggling mathematics, right? So if you're a underperformer or underperformer, this is going to be the video for you. And again, if you don't know horokakara tusho guy, and if your tusho is available but expensive, don't worry, I will help you out. So roto cover paper one le paper two in detail. All right, so if you are struggle, you can also watch these videos, but mainly they are geared towards those learners who are struggling. So what we will do is we will explain everything in detail so that when you go and sit down for your final exams, you're only confident in your knowledge and skill and understanding. All right, so let us start. It over paper one, right? The level question one. Right, more question 1.1. Area solve for x in each of the following. You can say each of the following given equations or expressions. Now 1.1.1, x squared plus x minus 12 is equals to 0. And then the total mark is 3 marks. Now remember, this is not a memorandum or answer kind of question. Answer kind of video. It's a very good question. It's a the lesson, right? And this is mainly, again, I repeat, to assist those learners who are underperforming. All right, so Artomega 1.1.1. Renale x squared plus x minus 12. This is equals to 0. All right, they say solve for x. Now you can either factorize or you can use the quadratic formula to solve for x here. Now if you're the factors, right, or try to factorize them, then you can use the quadratic formula because they do not limit you or say any one specific method. All right, so the one that we try and go factorize, and if that doesn't work out, then we can always use the quadratic formula. Okay, so now what's the first thing you have to understand? How about factorize? So how about factorize? You have to understand how well, what's given here, it's actually a quadratic formula. Okay, and in its quadratic standard form, we're going to express as ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. Right, now to express the alphabet, right, the alphabet they represent the constant or the number instead of the variable, which is the x, the q and stuff, right? So now this a represent that number a among x squared. Now because of a hona number more, you can always assume what the number x is 1, because r equal 1x, we can always say 1x, this is the same as x, so you don't actually have to write this 1. So if you want x we le 1 more, or if you want, let's say, q we le 1. All right, so you don't have to write it. So now here express the constant, it's a the identifier as coefficient ya x squared, so it's going to be the number a among x squared, which is in this case 1. So a is equals to 1, and then b the coefficient a among x, right? What number is that? In this case it will 1, because of there's no number written in front of x. And then c it will this constant here, constant here with sign thing again. So you can't just say 12, you have to say c is equals to negative 12. All right, now let's say, for example, the number let's say about something like 2x squared, ne? And then on a negative 3x, and then on a let's say negative 7, just for, for example. Now if you express this in terms of ax squared plus bx plus c, what is going to be the value of a? Just for a small little exercise, the value of a over coefficient ya x squared, 2. And then what is the value of b? remember b ki coefficient ya x. So in this case, b over coefficient ya this x with the sign ya thing, right? Don't forget the sign bang b over -3, and then c bang in this case c over this constant, right, which is in this equation c over this constant along the sign ya thing bang -7. All right, so you can see how it works. I got the what do you call it, the standard quadratic form, the alphabets, that thing. So C, B, and A, you can see where to locate them, how to identify them, and listen to among let's all. All right, so now I want us to focus on the question. So question area, solve for x here. So identify the constant, the marker. So what we are going to do now, we'll try the factors. It's 12. Right? Tolong hore here the multiplier, I mean the factors that 12 tolong hore the multiplier therefore 12, but then here the adder or the subtract sanji dirfeng. There's 1 which is b, sanji dirfe b. Okay, so the factors to dirfang 12, and then here the adder or the subtract, therefore there's b which is 1. Now remember, b ki coefficient ya x, it's going to be the value you get here. For example, again, if I have something like this, okay, if for example, let's say if I have something like this, 2x squared minus 3x minus 4 is equals to 0, what is the value of b? B it will the coefficient ya x, it's going to be this number, né? What is the value of b mo? You have -3. Okay, so you have to know how to identify the coefficient based on this x. So b is always going to be the coefficient of x, and you have to include the sign. So one more nearly negative, requires a -3 as a whole, right? All right, so now, like I said, about the factors, the 12, the multiplier, right? Therefore 12, but here the adder or the subtractor, therefore the value of b, which is in this case 1. Okay, now here about the factors, the 12, ne? Rotoma go 1, and then go 2, and then go 3, and so on until the grade factors is suitable. For example, we can say 1 times 12. Okay, 12. Now, what is the difference between these two? Let's say 12 minus 1. Difference, I think, about 11. Now, is this the number that we are looking for? Remember, we are looking for this number here, b, right? That's the constant we are looking for, b. Okay, so we know this is not what we are looking for. Then over 2. What can you multiply the 2 here for 12? 6. Right, this gives us 12. And then what is the difference between the two? 6 minus 2, 2 minus 6, constant over 4. It could be -4 or +4. Now is this the constant there which is 1? No, so this is not the difference. I think everything the middle term. Remember, we want the middle constant, which is 1. Okay, so we know this is also not correct. So you can move on to the next one. Remember, it's a 1, 2, now 3. 3 times which number? For 12. That's going to be 3 times 4. Okay, this is going to be 12. Now 4 minus 3 error for 1, or 3 minus 4 error for -1, but the constant ebang 1, right? The 1 can be positive or negative. Mark a 1. So now we have this constant, which is a 1. Ke re batlang because of king constant ya rena mo king ke 1. And then the factors tsa rena 3 le 4 di re fang 12. And then the difference e re fang 1. So we know how then we can use these factors here. 3 le 4 because of re krang the constant for the middle term, which is 1. Okay, so now then we can try and factorize. So now rewrite the equation, which is x squared plus x minus 12. This is equals to 0. Rotor x, right, camera the bracket, because of x times x elefang x squared. Now rotor the factors tarena, which is 3 and 4. So mo gatore ngana got 4 more and then got 3 more. All right, this is equals to 0. Right now we have to do, right, assign the sign, or we have to place the sign. So where do we place a positive and where do we place a negative? So what you can do is a little test. For example, let's say 3 minus 4. What's the difference here? Difference about negative 1. Now the question going negative 1, is it the same as our middle constant there in our middle term? So middle term constant there na middle term ke number positive, right? Ke positive 1. And then the difference between 3 and 4 ke negative, right? Now let's see. What if we say 4 minus 3 erfang 1? Now the question is, does this positive 1 match the constant there in amo, which is the coefficient of x? Yes. So coefficient of x mo ke positive 1, and then the difference mo ke positive 1. Now this gives us a clue why it's because of this home to identify how positive you go kai, negative you go kai. So more kono the number 3, right? Tanzare assign a negative sign. And then the number 4, or the factor 4, Tanzare assign a what? A positive sign. So now we can come into this brackets. Remember, this is not working. More bracket more canal 4 even a positive, right? This is because of more 4 na even a positive. And then 3 arena rira negative. Why? Because of more this negative, it's additionally this negative, and that's because of constant ternebang positive 1, which is the coefficient of x. All right, now return this, right, camera the bracket the equator to 0. Okay, so what we do getting error x plus 4, this is equals to 0, or x minus 3, this is equals to 0. Right, so now this positive 4, right, move like high equal sign a your change from positive you negative, right? Negative 4. So more than x is equals to negative 4, or more to remove this negative, let's say right? So this negative your change abang positive, and then rokrang positive 3. So more than x is equals to we're gonna call a positive 3, but this is the same as just saying 3. Okay, so x is equals to 3. All right, so this will be the final answer. So the value of x as you have solved for it, it's either x is equals to negative 4 or x is equals to 3. All right, so that was pretty much how solve for x. Remember, this is for those learners who are actually struggling and losing marks on such questions. So if this is easy for you, it's not easy for everyone. All right, so I'm going to demonstrate the step-by-step approach. How do you solve for x and how to understand this, and then yeah, pretty much we can do some similar exercises, but on the next video, the 1.1.2, which is this one over here. All right, now before I conclude this, right, there's also something else that you have to do, which is, I think, or it's better to try that, because of sometimes you might find or you make mistakes, ne? Let's say you want to check or these factors the signs are thing the correct now, right? There's a small little test you can do. So what you can do is you can multiply these two factors the signs are thing over this constant, right? And to do that, you need to understand how the sign the barakabe. So every time I multiply the sign out one, what do you get? You get a positive sign, right? So I multiply positively positive over positive, negatively negative over negative, right? But how multiply the sign is also one. For example, we multiply positive the negative over negative. For multiply negative the positive over negative. So you can conclude where the sign is out one over positive, right? Or multiply positively positive or grab positive. Or multiply negatively negative or grab positive. Now the sign is just a twaning always. How the multiplier do find negative. So positive times negative, get negative, negative times positive, get negative. Alright, so more returning this positive times this negative. Erfan negative. Okay. And then now return 4 times 3. Erfan 12. So you can see here this and this are the same, negative 12, negative 12. So that's one way of doing it. Now there's another way of doing it. We're going to check out for the middle term. So the middle term is going to be this term here, right? So what you do, what's here, this constant, let's say nothing, we multiply x a, right? And then what's here, this constant, let's say nothing, we multiply x a, like and then what you're going to do then is you're going to add the two, and then turn to do thing hold the error, turn to do fair this middle term here. Okay, so let's do that. Other positive times positive, you're fine, a positive, right? And then really 4 times x, you're fine, 4x, and then really happening let's say this positive, right, times this negative. Remember the signs are different. How do you multiply do for do for negative, right? And then 3 times x your fun 3x. Okay, now our added determines because of k 4x come 3x kid like terms, right? So 4x minus 3x rasalakang positive x. Now this is the same as the middle term. So you can check and see hore the factors you have come out of the brackets least ends thing actually the balancer the equation. All right, and then like I said, if that's fine, then you can proceed to solve for x. So more normally x plus 4 is equals to 0, or x minus 3 is equals to 0, and then x is equals to negative 4, or x is equals to 3, right? So this is the answer for the first question. Now on the next video, lesson level at the second question. Okay, remember to like and subscribe so that you can get notified. I upload the second video and the third video and so on up until read paper 2. All right, so if you know anyone in grade 11, you can also tell them, or they can watch this video lessons, because of the explain and in detail, so that you can have chance to pass, obviously. All right, okay, so stay tuned. We'll on the next video. It's bye for now.